So the US has an architecture of intervention which must be understood. It is true they have gunboat diplomacy, but they don't have only that. These people are smart and they are sophisticated. And they have today, they've been trying, one of the things they've tried is what they call the color revolution, which is they organize civil society, they take 20 years, they spend a huge amount of money, they organize huge number of trainings, thousands of training sessions, where they persuade people to join and they pay them. They spend huge amounts of money. One person regarding the situation in the Ukraine, one of the persons at the level of the State Department slipped accidentally that the US had spent $5 billion to prepare the ground to do what they did. And it took them 20 years. So these people have a long term in their head. It's not just immediate things, it's long term. In Venezuela, they are trying now what they call the soft coup. That is to say, you have created the conditions within sections of Venezuela that you've organized with money, with so-called NGOs. They fund political parties, media, newspapers, television channels, radio stations, activists, and everything else that they can, in order precisely to have all of these things and then unleash them at the right moment. And the idea is to penetrate society from within, undermine it, have the legitimacy of something being domestically generated, and they try not to show their hands. And this is extremely dangerous. Let me give you the figures for this intervention in the case of Venezuela. From 2000 up to 2012, serious research that has been conducted, among others by Eva Collinger, indicate the United States has given to opposition groups in that period $120 million. And this is to undermine and destabilize the government. Think about it. Translate that into British terms, that would be the equivalent of something like $1.2 billion. Imagine if any powerful country outside the UK were to organize this money to give 1.2 billion to various groups here to undermine and stabilize the government in order to oust it. I imagine the British government would say, excuse me, we are very respectable of people's opinions, but we're not going to tolerate this. And then we'll stop it. So therefore, this is what is being done. Now, then there is a final problem, another problem. There is much more, but I know there is no time, so I'm going to sort of cut it a bit short. Their problem is this. They always used to portray their enemy in the worst possible light in terms of the prejudices that people have in the United States. So, for example, people with beard, they always, they look terrible, they look ugly, they look threatening. And they use this, sorry, I don't mean anything. And every time people with turbans, people with different clothing, they always maximize it. They always, use this. But now the problem is this. What Latin America is doing is so bloody good. How can you argue against it? I don't mean to rub it in, but education in Venezuela is free of charge. I'm sorry, but you cannot enjoy it. In Venezuela, hundreds of thousands of people are getting university grants. I'm sorry, you cannot enjoy it. In Venezuela, 20 million people actually get free health because of 20,000 Cuban doctors that were changed for 89,000 barrels of oil a day. That's a fantastic thing. Cuba needs the oil. It's got plenty of doctors because they're invested in their society and they are actually now can help. And that's fantastic. And just like that, the Venezuelans are able to actually attend, serve, give free health to 20 million people. That's brilliant. when this was discussed at one time, and George W. Bush felt the pressure of this good example, he organized part of the US fleet. This is really true. Organized part of the US fleet, warships, aircraft carrier, this is very threatening. Send them around the Caribbean with doctors inside. Marines first, and the doctors immediately. And they went around, taking some putting some tools of people out, looking after, checking some people, and they calculated the number of them they did, and they publicized this in the media. And they said the United States could do this. It's totally ridiculous. And this is the problem. If the United States that has the resources and the capacity, and the Europeans, I don't want to let them off the hook. If they can put together a plan to help anybody, my goodness, they will be so popular. You have Operation Miracle. It's a joint medical program, joint Venezuela and Cuba program, by which they identify people in the continent, including the US, by which people get operated from cataracts and eye ailments when people are blind, free of charge. People are taken from wherever they are, they fly in with somebody who accompanies them, free of charge. The operation is carried out free of charge. People get their eyesight restored. They stay in the convalescence for as long as necessary, free of charge, for the person, the patient, and the person who accompanies them. Then they're sent back free of charge. The program was started in May 2003. 2 million such operations have been performed, free of charge. This is the problem. How, you can imagine the strategy in the United States man saying, Jesus Christ, what do we do with this? Even more, to show the humanity of what is being done. There is one guy in Bolivia who applied, because the program is being extended to Bolivia, who had cataract problems, nearly blind, and went to the hospital and said, could I have treatment, please? And they said, of course. His name is Mario Terán. Mario Terán is the guy, the Bolivian sergeant, who actually shot Che Guevara dead when he was arrested. He came, the Cuban doctors who were there knew, the Cuban doctors knew immediately, and they just treated him anyway, restored their eyesight. Some criticisms were raised here and there. The Cuban said, he's a patient. This is what we are here for. So when you see the humanity, the eradication of poverty, more than 100 million people have stopped being poor in Latin America because of what is being done. The integration and participation of women by their millions, I'm being telegraphic now because I've been told this, and so on. The restore of people's dignity. There are 39 languages in Bolivia. One of them is Spanish, all official. The other 38 are indigenous languages. The restoration of the dignity of the people, the indigenous people in Venezuela. The recognition of the African descendancy of the population in Venezuela. And the pride that they get in doing this. Chavez said, not only they hate me because of what I do, but look at me, he said, I'm black. Look at my hair, it's kinky. My lips are thick. He said, my nose is flat. And they hate me even more because of that. So therefore, the majority of humanity is not white. I don't have any problem with somebody who is white. But why some people who are racist and white have problems with us? And therefore, this is changing, Venezuelan society for the better. And we cannot fail. We just cannot fail. There's so much that is invested, there is so much stake, that we have to do everything we can to ensure that we counteract all the nonsense of the media. So I invite you to join us, if you can, Venezuela Solidarity Campaign, in order to actually help us to counteract all the lies of the media. If you're in touch with us and they like, which they do literally every time, we'll tell you what the actual lie is all about, and you can actually help us. The more letters, the more complaints, the more claims they receive, the more they listen. And therefore, it's not only in the hands of the Venezuelans, which it is, finally, but it's also in your hands. Help us out. Viva Venezuela!
Viva Venezuela!
Viva Latin America!
¡Que viva América! even better. Viva Hugo Chavez!
¡Viva!